program project, the first thing we need to do is we need to click on this link right here for the Scratch website, and that's where all of our programs are going to be created. And this should be accessible from anywhere. You should be able to do it from basically any computer. You don't need any special programs for this. It's all online. So we're just going to click on this link right here, and you should get to the Scratch website. It's scratch.mit.edu, and the first thing to do, if you haven't joined Scratch yet, you need to click on Join Scratch and follow these prompts. It's pretty easy. If you have already joined Scratch, just click on Sign In, and I have already joined, so I've got a username and a password. I'm going to click Sign In. And this is the page that you should see whether you are logging in or just joining for the first time. So the first thing that you're going to do if you haven't created your project yet is you're going to click on Create. And this is what you'll see when you have a new project created. You're going to see this cat, Scratchy the cat, is the only thing on your screen right here. And this cat and every object that you create in Scratch is called a sprite. And this is a vocab word that you're going to need to know. So every object in Scratch that you can manipulate is called a sprite. So this is our sprite right here. The ways that we can manipulate or make changes to our sprite, they are all in here in the middle. We've got 10 different categories: motion, look, sound, pin, data, events, control, sensing, operations, and more blocks. 10 different categories of blocks or ways that we can control the sprite. So one of my possible blocks is move 10 steps. So if I click on move 10 steps, my cat just moved from about here to about here, which is about 10 steps. I could have him turn 15 degrees to the right, or I could have him turn 15 degrees to the left. So each one of these is called a block, and blocks is another vocab word. Blocks are just ways you can control your sprite. And the third vocab word for this project is the script area. And this whole gray area on the right here is the script area. And the way I was clicking on these and making them affect the sprite right now, those are just testing it out. If we actually want to add it to the program, we would have to click on the block and drag it over to the right to the script area. And once it's in the script area, it's part of your program. So those are the three vocab words for this project. And now we need to take a look back at the Mr. Kwame website and see what the requirements for the name program are. So let me reload this quick here actually. So we've got 5 different requirements. The first requirement and second requirement kind of go together. We need to have a different sprite for each letter of your name. If your name is longer than 4 letters, you only need to have 4. So if I'm doing my last name Kwame, K-V-A-M-M-E, that's 6 letters long. I really only need 4, K-V-A-M. So I need to have 4 different sprites, a different sprite for each letter, and one of them needs to be drawn by hand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into Scratch, and the first thing I notice is that the cat is here, and that's not one of the letters in my name, so I really want to get rid of that. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to click on the scissors. That's the delete tool. So I'm going to click on the cat, and it just deletes it from the screen. And that's what we wanted because we want just the letters in our name. So now I need to make a new sprite, and we have commands down here, 4 different ways to make a new sprite. We can either insert sprites from the library, and Scratch has a library of different things, people, animals that you could import, and we're going to be using these later. But right now, what we want to use is paint a new sprite. There are a couple of other options where you could upload a file from your computer or take a picture from your camera. But today we're going to paint a new sprite, and we've got a couple of options. We could either actually use the paintbrush, and that's the default one, so that's already selected. So I'm just going to draw a K, And I want to draw all of my sprites or put all of my sprites right near this crosshair in the middle of the screen here. You want everything to be right near the middle or pretty centered on the screen. So I've got a K in here, and that's, you know, it's an okay looking K. It's good enough for the first project. And that fulfills the requirement. This second requirement, one of your sprites has to be drawn by hand. So that's okay, fulfills the second requirement. Now I'm going to create a V for my next sprite. So to create a new sprite, I have to click down here again, paint a new sprite. I'm going to click that. And now I'm into my second sprite. I'm going to use the text tool for this one. It's going to be a little bit faster. Type in a V, and that's a little small, so I'm actually going to drag it bigger. This is just like Inkscape and GIMP. You know, if you drag from the corners, it's going to make it bigger. Drag on those handles. If I want to change the color, I can change the color. And if it's not showing up on my screen, I can just click here on the costume one, and it'll show up for me. So I've got a K, I've got a V. They're not in order, but that's fine. I'll move those later. I'm just going to paint my next sprite here. It's trying to save the changes, which is fine. I'll let that work in the background. I'm going to paint an A. And now I'll do an M. And I would just change the colors for those as well. I'm moving all of them to be in about the middle there. And we'll just give it a second to save the changes. Okay, so now I've got 4 of my letters here, and 4 is the minimum. That's all you need to do. I probably would go back and finish the 2 more letters, KVAMME. I might as well finish it up, but for right now we're just going to do the 4. And if I click on my sprites and drag it, the K is a little harder to get to because you have to click right on the line. I can click on my sprites and drag them. I want to put these in order. KVAM. So those are the first 4 letters of my last name. So now I've got all my sprites in there. I've fulfilled the first requirement. I've got a different sprite for each letter in my name. And the second requirement, I drew one of the letters by hand, the K. So now we're on to the next section. I need to have at least one different interesting behavior for each letter. And I want to use a block from the motion, look, sound, and control category. So those are 4 categories. I want to use a block from each one of those. So first, I'm going to click on the K. And right now we're just looking at designing the sprite. I want to get out of that and I want to actually look at the scripts, which is where I can get my blocks and actually change the programming. So if I want to look at the different options in motion, there are a couple of good options. I'm going to try moving it. And so if I drag move in here, that's going to be a command for the K. So the K is going to move 10 steps. That's pretty good. I'm going to move on to the V. And I've got motion done. Let's take a look at what else we need. We need looks. So if I click on looks, I've got a bunch of different options. It could say hello. It could think hello. I could hide it so it doesn't show up anymore, or I could show it again. I could change the color effect so it changed from blue to purple. I think I like that one. So I'm going to change the color effect. It changed from blue to purple. And if I wanted it to change back, I could change this again. Instead of changing color effect by 25, this works for almost everything. Instead of changing it by 25, I'm going to change it by -25. That should change it back. Let's check. Yep, so it changed back from purple to blue. So if I put these right next to each other and I clicked it, nothing's going to happen because it instantly changes color effect by 25, and then almost at exactly the same time it changes it back by -25. So there's one more thing I could put in between them. I could click on control and I could wait a second in between these 2 commands. So I could click on this and it'll change it to purple, wait a second, and then back to blue. So that's pretty good because that goes back to the way it was originally. And if I didn't have that, like in my K, I did not have that, and if I keep doing this, pretty soon it's out of order. So I want to move that back, and I might want to add wait a second and then move back -10 steps. That would probably make it a little bit better. And what's our last category? Motion, looks, sound, and control. So in sound, we could play a sound, or we could play a drum, or there are a couple other sounds that we could do. So for the A, I'm just going to have that play the sound meow, and control, we already used wait a second. So I don't have anything yet for the M, but that's fine. You can figure that one out on your own. You can do whatever you want. And the last thing, we have to use when green flag is clicked block for each sprite. So right now, the only way that I can get the V to change color to purple and then back to blue is by clicking on this. But if I click on the events category and add in when the green flag is clicked, then it's going to do it automatically when I click on the green flag. And if I have that in every sprite, all of the sprites are going to change at the same time when I click on the green flag. So that is everything you need to do on this one. This project would not be complete because I don't have the M doing anything. So you need to add your own command in here for the M. It could be whatever you want. But besides that, everything is completed. So I've completed all 5 of these requirements except for have a different interesting behavior for each letter. The M didn't have anything yet. Yours would need to finish that. But when you are done, first you need to share your project, then submit it here. So first, we're going to click on share. So there's an option right here in the top right. Click on share. And after you click that, your project is now shared. So you're successful if you see your project is now shared. The next thing you need to do is just copy the address, the whole URL from the address bar, copy that whole thing, and go to edit copy or open Apple C, Command C. I'm just going to copy that, and I'm going to paste that in to this submit link later. So I'm going to click on submit. And now here's a Google form just like we used in the t-shirt design process for getting feedback. So you need to enter your name, first name, last name, what class you're in, either period 1A or 1B, and then right here is where you would paste in the link. So I'm just going to paste in the address to your project, and then you need to answer a couple of vocab questions. This was from the beginning of the video. If you don't remember, skip back to it. What is a sprite? What is a block? And what is a script area? When you're finished with all of those questions, make sure your link is in here, and then you can click on submit, and you'll be done with the name program.